this YouTube channel needs, it lacks controversy. And so instead of talking about the tips and habits that I do like, enough of that, enough of the positivity, instead I will be talking about 5 productivity tips and habits that I do not like. I'll do my best to explain why I don't like them and why they don't work for me, but I am not trying to plant any flags. If anything, this video is an invitation for you to try these things, see if they work for you, and if they don't, you have someone who's in the same boat as you. So let's start with a tool that people recommend to me on pretty much a daily basis. I get so many comments and messages saying, have you tried Notion? I have tried it, and I've done my best to summarize some of the reasons why... Wait, sorry, I'm getting a call. Ro! Sorry, I'm filming a video right now. I can't really talk.
I know. I heard you say you don't like Notion.
Yes. As you know, on the Bliss feed, we love talking about planning and personal development, and if you watch this channel, I am willing to guess that you also watch Rowena Tsai's channel. So, surprise! Today, we are teaming up to share 10 productivity tips and habits that collectively we do not like, even though they are pretty popular on the whole YouTube space. So we are going to chat about each of our 5 things and just have a very casual conversation. Not arguing, just debating.
Lovingly debating.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so my first point is Notion. I know you love using Notion, and I always clarify that I have tried Notion. I think I have given it a very fair shot. My problem is that when I tried it, and any time that I watch other people's setups, it just seems so complicated to me, and I know that it's a very customizable tool, so of course it's gonna be complicated and difficult to get used to, but it's not just the setup that seems complicated to me, it's the maintenance. So, for example, I was watching a video where someone did a book tracker and they said like, oh, the Goodreads layout is so old and clunky or something like that. I like the Goodreads layout, so I was a little offended. But they were showing how every time they want to add a book to their to-read list, they download the cover of the book, they have to input the title and the author and categorize it and apply all these labels. And I was just thinking, if I just want to add a book to my to-read list, I have to go through all of that and like set it all up myself when Goodreads already has all of that information and thousands of reviews as well, so I barely have to do anything. So I guess my point is just that I don't really want to rebuild anything for which I already have a tool, if that makes sense.
So I think that's honestly one of the reasons why I don't really use it for my personal life anymore. I use it for work, for the content calendar. I know we'll get into, like, you'll share about your experience with the content calendar in a little bit. But yeah, I just feel like it can be overly complex. And the essence of Notion to me is that it is a very powerful database. And again, I know you're gonna mention that like you don't really think in databases, which is a totally valid reason why you don't use it. But yeah, I agree. It can be a bit overwhelming.
Yeah, so as you said, I like doing my content calendar on Trello. I like journaling on the Day One app. And I think the benefit that a lot of people mention is that you have everything in one place. And that's just not really a priority for me. It doesn't really matter if stuff is in different places. I don't mind going to different apps. What matters to me is that the tool itself works and that it requires as little effort from me as possible. I do also hear from a lot of people that they love putting together databases in Notion, and I think all of the different views are pretty cool, like having tables or Kanban boards or lists. I do know how Notion works. I know my stuff. I know all the Notion lingo.
You do. She does. I can vouch for her.
Yes.
We've talked about this in depth.
So I tried to take my content ideas list, which I had in a Google Doc, and move that into a Notion database because I was like, this is so perfect. I can label the topic that it's about. So I spent all this time transferring everything from Google Docs into Notion, and then after a couple of months of things going okay, I once again moved everything back to Google Docs, like after I had deleted the Google Docs, so it was a lot of effort. But what I would compare it as is Notion to me feels like a super organized room full of file cabinets and everything's like super pretty and labeled and color-coded, whereas a Google Doc Yes, the Google Doc that I had was kind of a mess. It was all of these bullet points, very little organization, but when I opened that up, I felt like, you know, in a movie where they're trying to solve some sort of a mystery or like a conspiracy theory, and the main character has like this big closet that's super creepy where they have evidence taped all over the walls and everything connected by strings. When I opened up Notion, I felt like I was walking into a room where everything was perfectly organized, but I didn't engage with those ideas in any way. I felt too lazy to open up each thing and read what I had written in there. Whereas with my Google Doc, when I see it, it really inspires me because I'm just flooded by all of these ideas and I can make connections between things. So how do you feel about Notion possibly forcing you to over-organize things, if that makes sense?
No, I think what you said makes total sense because I also thrive on some sort of creative clutter. In terms of Notion being a little overly organized, I feel like I like that for work because you want to know where things are, and like, let's say if a brand new person enters your team Notion workspace, they should be able to click into something and know what they'll expect. So I think from that perspective, it's like if you want an outside person who's not you to come into your brain, ideally it would be a bit more organized. But I think for myself, like, I don't mind if it's not.
I think that's a great point, is like, if I were to invite someone over, I would not want them to walk into the room where I'm solving conspiracy theories. I would only want to show them the room full of super nice, tidy file cabinets. I have had the idea in the back of my mind for a while that like when I soon bring on another person to help me with the Bliss Bean, wink wink, it'll be super nice to be able to build out like a Bliss Bean wiki. So I guess the reason I have not wanted to apply it to my personal life is that I feel like it invites a higher degree of complexity and tracking, and at the moment in my life I'm in a place where I'm trying to simplify things and track less and just go with the flow more.
Same.
So the example I was thinking of was like, yes, I could create a super detailed book tracker and create a filter and see how many books on personal finance I read in the second half of 2018, but right now, I feel like I want to work towards becoming the type of person who just wanders on over to a bookstore and walks around and picks out a book and just enjoys reading it. So I think the thing is that every time that I watch Notion setups, and I do enjoy watching it because it's kind of satisfying to see how other people do their setups, I never feel like, oh, I want to do that. That would help me. Absolutely no shade on the people whose videos I watch, whose Notion setups I watch, but a lot of the times they'll be doing their tour and they'll have a section that's empty and they'll just be like, oh, this is for tracking this, but I don't really use that, or I haven't used that yet. And I know myself, I know I'm the type of person who would create tons of pages and sections that I never ended up using. And I just got done with my decluttering series on my channel. You know how much I hate clutter. I feel like that sort of digital clutter would stress me out. The second tip, habit, technique that I don't like using is bullet journaling. So I already have a whole
Dagger to my heart.
I already have a whole video where I explain for like 10 minutes why I do not like bullet journaling, but I used to have a homemade paper planner. I literally like cut out pieces of plastic and hole punched paper myself. I loved decorating it and using it every day. But eventually it got to the point where I got so overwhelmed by all of these little tasks that I was trying to manage inside it. It got so messy as I was moving stuff around, and eventually, I think it was before my senior year, I said, okay, goodbye paper planning, and I started using digital planning, and I never went back. So first of all, I have my phone with me way more often than I have a notebook with me. And so previously with my paper planner, I would have to pretty much have my backpack with me to pull out my planner and check stuff, but I always had my phone with me. It's a good or a bad thing, but I am a Gen Z, so you have to understand. I was always able to check my calendar, check my time blocking, check my tasks wherever I was. I also am someone who likes to order my tasks on my to-do list in the order that I plan to get them done, because that just helped me to kind of set a plan for the day. And so with my paper journal, I literally would take a pencil and scribble in these tiny little numbers, and then I would start using decimals where if I had a number 2 and a 3, then I had a number 2.5 and a 2.75, and it was an absolute mess. Have you ever used any sort of paper planning?
Yeah, I think like growing up as like a millennial before all these like digitizations of our lives, I feel like paper planning was the thing. And even these days, I feel like I still go back and forth between digital and bullet journal. Like for example, I went back to bullet journal a few months ago, and then out of nowhere for the past month, I've just been using like Apple Notes. You know how Apple Notes has that little check thing that you could do? And I did that for a few weeks. I was like, well, I kind of miss my bullet journal, so I'll go back to my bullet journal. But I think it's like everything that we'll talk about in this video. All of these planning things, it's here to help us, not to stress us out more. So I think whether it's digital, whether it's paper, whether it's anything, and whether if it changes or not, if it sticks to one thing or not, so long as it works for you, I think that's what is most important at the end of the day.
Yeah. I was looking through my Google Photos recently and like researching for this video basically because I wanted to figure out when exactly did I switch from paper to digital. So I found a photo of my paper planner from April 2018. April 2018 I think was the most stressful month of my life, at least so far, and just looking at it makes me feel anxious. And so I think at that point I really knew that it's time to make the switch.
It was time.
And a fun fact is that the planning tool, the digital planning tool that I switched to and that I still use to do is something I learned about from one of your videos almost 3 years ago now. So it was a very serendipitous path that took me to this point where I'm now filming a video talking about that.
And I don't use it anymore.
I don't care, I still use it.
Yes, that's what's most important.
Okay, my third thing is not quite a habit or a technique. So I love Apple. I am definitely an Apple fan. Definitely an Apple fangirl. I'm reading my script off of my MacBook. I have my iPhone. I'm using my AirPods. I'm wearing my Apple Watch. I am fully bought into their ecosystem. And so when I started seeing all these people on the StudyGram and StudyTube communities using iPads for taking notes, basically using it in place of a laptop or drawing and designing graphics, which is something that I do for my videos, I was definitely tempted because it definitely looks very beautiful. I can see that there's lots of practical uses for it, but after thinking more about it, I realized I actually do really like working on a computer. In Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport, which is a book that I mention way too often, he talks about the cost-benefit analysis of implementing, for example, a new social networking tool. And he said that the problem is a lot of people will implement an any benefit analysis where, for example, if they look at Twitter, they'll be like, oh, I could find networking opportunities or do some research on Twitter because of those very tiny little benefits that might not even actually happen. They will choose to get a Twitter, but then totally not think about the cost of that, which is hours and hours of wasted time.
Scrolling.
Yes, exactly. So I think the point for me with the iPad was like, yes, I do see some benefits of it. I certainly could use an Apple Pencil and do my little doodles for my videos on there. I could use it for school or whatever, but at the end of the day, those benefits were not enough for me to outweigh not just the financial cost, but I also really want to emphasize the mental cost of having a whole nother device just like in your space, you know?
Yes, even though I have an iPad here and I just got a really cute little skin for the pencil. I agree. I feel like a lot of these gadgets and tech and just many things in our lives are nice to haves, they're not must-haves, and I think so long as we know how to differentiate between the two, it'll be a lot easier for us to say yes or no to the things that we feel that we need in our life, but it's actually more of a want than a need. So for the iPad, what I use it most for is actually for doodling, as you mentioned, but how do you get your things to animate and to be as cute as they are on screen without an iPad?
Yes. So I would refer the audience to my 30 minute if I may direct you to my 30-minute guide to how I edit videos. I had a whole section on how I design graphics. So I love this thing. Someone asked me if it feels weird to have a pen and be drawing on your desk, but then looking at your computer screen. You are not the only one, okay? And it actually doesn't. It's so synchronized that somehow your brain just makes the connection, and it's like, yeah, that makes sense. I'm drawing here, but I see it on my screen, and it feels very fluid and natural. I guess I really like this because with an iPad, I feel like that's the only use that I would have for a touchscreen, truly. And so just by buying this little tablet, I don't remember how much it was, maybe like $50 or $60.
Like 50, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I got that right.
I think 50, 60, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I can achieve that one purpose of an iPad without buying like the $1,000 iPad. And it's a cute pistachio color, yes. So like how could you not?
It is really beautiful. And I also used to just hand draw all the graphics on the computer with on the trackpad. So it could work. It could work. It took a long time and it was kind of rigid around the edges, but if you really want it badly enough, you can make it happen some way, somehow.
Yes, I applaud that effort. That is very impressive. Okay, my number 4 thing is morning exercising. So exercising in general, I am 100% on board with. Morning workouts though, are not my cup of tea. I have no energy in the morning. I do a couple of morning exercises, but they literally take 3 minutes, and it's just to like get my heart pumping and feel like I'm alive at the start of the day.
What are they?
If I wake up super tired. Okay, so they're just some core exercises. So I do 60. This is gonna sound like I'm a fitness channel now. This is my 2-week shred, guys. 60 knee to elbow things, and then 12 of like the side taps, and then 30 of the hip dips, and then 30 of the bicycle crunches.
Ah, it looks like you're doing a cute K-pop dance.
That's another video. That's our second collaboration. I think for me, a really big thing, aside from having zero energy in the morning, is that if I get my workout done first thing in the day, then I feel kind of stagnant for the rest of the day. Like, even though it is nice to be like, oh, I checked that off and it's done, I have no reason not to just sit at my desk for the rest of the day. If I have something scheduled for the evening, like a dance class, I have a reason to stop working and get up from my desk, and it's like a very natural cutoff point for my work day, which otherwise might bleed into the night if I have nothing that I'm forced to go to. Yeah, I haven't done morning workouts in a really long time.
I think what you ended up doing, it's like you're still getting your body moving and sweating a little in the morning, but instead of like doing it in a huge chunk, it's like breaking it into smaller bits throughout the day to incentivize you to like stand up or to take a walk, like why you like your Apple Watch, right? Like it reminds you to do those things instead of like feeling like you need to do everything at one time.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Like, you're just supporting my point that Apple Watches are great. But it really made me think of exercise and movement as not something that just has to happen in one big chunk, like one super intense workout. It's something you do throughout the day, and I think that has helped me to notice more the impact on my energy that it has, because if I do just those 3 minutes of exercise in the morning, it makes me feel more awake, and so I can kind of break up those benefits and experience them the entire day. Life hack. My final point is reading for personal development.
Wait. Hold on a second. Don't you have a video titled 12 Books for Personal Development? And isn't your whole channel about personal development and self-growth help? How can you self-help without reading self-help?
Yes, thank you for calling me out. I am a hypocrite, in fact. Okay, so I do love reading, and I love reading self-help books, but I don't think that reading for personal development is as great as people make it out to be. I'll say it that way, very diplomatically. When it comes to reading a self-help book, like, it's a whole nother process. I feel like you have to read really closely and absorb it and highlight and take notes and then apply them to your life, and it's so much work. And so I feel like if you have a goal that's read one personal development book a week, for example, that kind of defeats the purpose, because you're just going to be tempted to kind of rush through it and not actually do the work that it takes to absorb the content of the book. I think that there's no reason to pressure yourself to learn absolutely everything that's in the book, because I think that the most important lessons and quotes will stick with us just because they are most pertinent and relevant to our lives at that present moment. And then all of the kind of superfluous information will just kind of fall away and maybe, yes, float away. And maybe you read that book sometime again in the future and it's totally different sections of it that stand out to you. So like what I was saying about I want to just wander into a bookstore and pick up a book that catches my eye, I feel like I want to read books and just allow them, this sounds so woo-woo, but allow them to teach me what they are meant to teach me.
So deep, I love it.
I was listening to the 10% Happier podcast a couple of months back. They were doing a series of New Year's episodes, but instead of the whole New Year, New Me thing that we always see, they were really emphasizing New Year, same me. And I think that's a really good thing to apply to this point, is that we are perfect just as we are. We don't necessarily need any improvement. We can improve ourselves if we want to, but we don't need fixing, and we don't need to read books to fix ourselves because we're perfect the way that we are.
There are periods of my life where I want to absorb everything, and then it's like after you absorb everything, you have to digest it, and then you digest it, you make what you will with it, you create stuff, you, I don't know, do whatever you want, and then it's like, okay, I'm ready to absorb more information. So it's like honoring those seasons in your life.
I think there's a lot more value in, I mean, not more value, but also still a lot of value in non-fiction books that don't necessarily present like a clear lesson to learn. Just picking a random thing to learn about I think is so fun, even if it can't be applied to your life. And then I think I saw a study somewhere that said that reading, this is supported by scientific evidence.
Yes, I'm a scientist myself.
MLA citations in the description. That fictional books actually help you to develop empathy. So there's benefits to everything.
And I think it's like, as with anything in life, if you were to take a step back and just be intentional with everything that you're doing and to be more present, you can find inspiration literally everywhere. Like this cabinet next to me, there's something here that
beautiful
could be
cabinet.
Inspirational. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was great talking to you, but I actually I need to go right now, so we can talk some other time on your video, but thank you so much for joining me on this.
Of course.
Bye! Before you go, I see you about to click away from the video. Just stay for a second. Rowena and I both have these wonderful, lovely, supportive communities on an app called Vibely. We share weekly personal development, self-care challenges, and this week's collaborative challenge is going to be for you guys to tell us your hot takes on productivity tips and habits that you don't like. We're also going to be doing a digital meetup that Rowena and I will both be attending, so if you want to hang out with us, learn more about how to join that, click the link in the description. Finally, I just want to thank Rowena for doing this video with me because it was a little bit unreal to be talking to, filming with, sharing a screen with someone who I've watched for years on YouTube and has been such a huge role model to me, so it was a really good day. Today was a good day. You should definitely go over to her channel and watch the video where we talked about her 5 productivity tips and habits that she doesn't like, including things like doing your most important work first thing in the morning or having a morning routine. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Please be sure to give it a like, enter the challenge in the description, subscribe to my channel, watch Rowena's video, check, check, check. I will see you next week. Bye! Yeah.
What is it?
Take 1100.
Deep breaths. I mean, you can even just ask me.
Okay, sounds good. Now. Yippity yup yup yup. Okay, last point. Let's get it.
Let's get it. I'm gonna hang up on this call.